You've obviously registered through this webinar. If you haven't done it yet, sign up to our newsletter. We have great economic development newsletters. Any new programs, any grants, any information, that's a great way to stay in touch with us. Or obviously, like Facebook is great. But the newsletter is really good for staying on top of information. That's just on our brucecounty.on.ca website under business, and you'll see there under the training and webinars, and it's just on the sidebar. So just sign up to that to kind of keep you in the loop of what's going on. We do have I think there's probably 40 more webinars peppered throughout the fall. So pick and choose. We tried to pick some themes that may be of interest. So feel free to sign up for any of them that you want. We always try to do a recording, and even if you can't make it, you'll get sent a copy of the recording if it works out okay, and then that way you can watch it at your own time. Yeah, so it's really helpful. If you have any questions to do with, I would say, the business development kind of side of things. I'm a business development coordinator. There's, like I say, I'm out of the peninsula. You have Tori, who's doing the lakeshore for Port Elgin and Kincardine, and then Janelle handles everything else all the way out to Mildmay. Yeah, so we can help you, assist you along with that. I'll send an email out afterwards with a follow-up email just after the meeting, and you can reach out to myself, and I'll put you in contact with either one of us or any of us that think we can help you out. So, anyways, Coreena, I'll let you take it away.
All right, great. Thanks, Paul. So welcome everyone tonight. I did put the recording on, so far it seems to be working. I'm not the most technically savvy person, but we will make sure that this is recorded and sent out to you so you can review it later. So I'll maybe introduce myself. My name's Coreena Smith. I'm the Senior Development Planner with Bruce County. I've been with the county just over a year and a half now. As Paul indicated, I work out of the Walkerton office, but I will be shifting as of next week to the Port Elgin office. So a bit of a rotation there, but I'll give you an overview of our hub structure and our offices and how you can get in contact with us in the presentation. So I am going to try and share my slide deck now, so bear with me as I get that up and running. And I'll pause at certain parts throughout just in case there's any questions. Yeah, we'll go from there. So welcome again tonight. So we're doing a bit of an overview of planning and development and the planning process. Hopefully this is going to work. There we go. So in this session, we are going to provide you an overview of our structure at the county and how we operate. We're going to let you know who to contact at the municipalities as well for various types of questions that you might have. We'll walk through a couple of scenarios in terms of looking for a potential site, if you need a planning application on a site you've already selected, and how that process sorts out, including some of the timelines associated with that. And then towards the end of the presentation, I will close down my slide deck and then do a bit of a run through of our mapping tool, which is a great resource if you're looking for potential sites, if you have clients who are interested, or if you have a site already where you can go to find out information about it, including official plan designations, what the zoning for your particular property is, and things like that. So lots of information, hopefully that's of use for all of you. So here we have a map of the county, and as Paul indicated, we do have various offices. So planning and economic development, we're situated in 3 hubs. For planning specifically, the Lakeshore Hub, which is the hub I'm moving to next week. We're situated in the Port Elgin office. We cover both Saugeen Shores and Kincardine. And there are 3 staff located in that office for planning purposes. It's myself, Barbara, and we have a technician who will be starting with us in October. The Inland Hub, where I'm currently situated and working from right now, doing this presentation, is located in Walkerton. This office services Huron Kinloss, Brockton, as well as South Bruce. And in our office, our new senior planner who will be replacing me in this office, she starts next week, is Monica. We also have Dana, Julie, and Candace as part of that team. And then our Peninsula office is located in Wyerton, and that office services Erin Eldersley, South Bruce Peninsula, and Northern Bruce Peninsula. And you would be in contact with Dan, who's our senior planner in that location, as well as supported by Eric and Teslin. So the county, the way the planning structure is set up, and we'll go into a bit more detail in terms of the planning hierarchy, but the way it's set up is the county administers a lot of the planning approvals and processes if you need to go through a planning application process for whatever you're looking to do on your site. The only type of planning application that the county doesn't either process because we are the approval authority, and we also do work on behalf of our local municipalities as well on their behalf. But the only type of planning application that the county doesn't process is site plan approvals, which are handled specifically by the local municipality. But if you are in need of an official plan amendment, a zoning bylaw amendment, a minor variance, for example, you need to reduce a setback on a property. If you're looking to sever a property, the county would be your contact for all of that. So I see we have a few more people just joining us right now, so I'm just letting them into the discussion. So welcome to everyone who's joining right now. We just got started, so I'm just giving an overview of the planning and development structure of our teams and who you would be in contact with if you needed some type of planning approval in Bruce County. So there's also some key folks at our local municipalities as well. The chief building official is often contacted if you need a building permit. They're often the zoning administrator as well, so they would answer any questions you might have in terms of what's a permitted use on my property, what are the setbacks, what are some of the size or height restrictions that might be on a property. So you can reach out to them specifically for those types of questions. If you're going through the planning process and there's questions with respect to servicing, you need to make a connection to local water service or sanitary service. You might have to deal with the public works manager. And for sometimes there's agreements that need to be entered into, like a site plan agreement or something along those lines, a servicing agreement as another example. You might have to speak with the CAO or the clerk at the municipality. And some municipalities have a legal department as well, who you would be put into contact with. There are some municipalities, for example, Kincardine, they also have a development coordinator. So that would be your first point of contact if you have any questions about building or the planning process in that respective local municipality. So I'm going to dig a bit dig a bit deeper into the planning process and give an overview of why do we do planning. So first and foremost, planning in the province is to put development in the right location. So it's to encourage efficient use of resources, making sure that development's directed towards areas where there may be full municipal servicing. It's also making sure that there's efficient use of land, so ensuring that development occurs in an orderly way and that there's not compatibility issues. For example, you're not putting, a major manufacturing facility next to a long-term care home or something along those lines. So it's to ensure that there's good build out of the area, efficient use of land, and to ensure there's no compatibility issues. The other thing that planning does is to ensure that our environmental features, natural hazards, natural heritage features are appropriately protected if they need to be, or that there's mitigation provided if something needs to encroach into a certain area. And it also ensures that our farmland is also protected as well to ensure that we have an ongoing food source down the line. So this is the boring slide, and I apologize for that, but I did want to highlight that there is a bit of a hierarchy as it comes to planning in the province. So general direction is set by the province, and that is through the Planning Act. There are certain regulations that come into play that fall from the Planning Act, and those relate to specific requirements for different types of applications. the province sends out an overall direction in terms of things that are of importance to the province when it comes to land use planning, and those are set out specifically in policies through the provincial policy statement. And then in some areas, there may be specific areas of interest for the province as well. And for Bruce County, one of those specific plan areas is the Niagara Escarpment Plan. So there may be more specific policies for that area that identify things that are of provincial interest, things that need to be considered through a planning approval, areas that should be avoided, like sensitive natural features, which would be the case in many locations in the Niagara Escarpment. If you're looking to do development closer to the Greater Toronto area, there's other plans that come into play, like the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. But that's the overall direction that the province provides. And then from that, the local or the upper tier municipalities, develop official plans. So we take that provincial direction and we get a bit more detailed. So in the county official plan, it is required under the Planning Act, but we set out specific information and details that are of more regional context and a regional concern, or things that need to be considered for the direction of growth and development, where businesses are best located, for servicing purposes, for transportation purposes, and things like that. From the county official plan level down to the next level, that's the local official plan level. And in most municipalities in Bruce County, there's a local official plan that typically applies to the settlement areas. For example, here in Walkerton, there's a local official plan for Walkerton. In other municipalities, it covers multiple municipality or areas of built up areas in their local municipality. And it provides, again, another grain of detail in terms of specific locations that are appropriate for business. It provides and highlights there may be natural features that may be of concern. It sets out density development requirements as well, and certain provisions as it relates to ensuring there's appropriate servicing available. And if there's not, what type of servicing can be provided in the interim. And then the last layer that would be of interest is the zoning bylaws. So that's really where everything comes into effect. So the zoning bylaw tells you what a permitted use is in a particular site or in a particular area. It tells you how any buildings on the property need to be situated, what the setbacks to neighboring uses need to be, what the constraints may be as it relates to development adjacent to industrial areas versus residential areas. It sets out coverage requirements on a property, and by that I mean how much area can you occupy on the property with a building. And there's many other details that are provided in the bylaw. So as I noted in the last slide, the provincial direction really lays out the key objectives for land use planning in the province. And then at the county and local level, we take that information, we do site-specific studies, and we develop our official plans on that basis, following the provincial direction, but also putting that local context into play. So through that process, when we're developing the local and the county official plans, as well as the zoning bylaws, we seek public input because we want to know what's important for our residents in the area, what are key considerations for growth, for employment, for social services, what's important as it relates to the environment. So we take all that information and we develop our plans on that basis. And those plans are adopted by council. At the county level, the county adopts the county official plan, but also takes the recommendations from local councils as well and adopts those. And then those are ultimately, the county plan is ultimately approved by the province. So we're going to run through a couple of scenarios now. I'll just maybe pause to see if anybody has any questions. I'm hopeful that's the driest part of the presentation, and maybe it gets a bit more interesting after this. But any questions at this point? Feel free to use the chat or to unmute yourself if that's easier. Happy to take any questions, but not seeing any at this point, so we'll maybe continue on through the slide deck, and I'll pause after the scenarios as well. So scenario one, Taylor is looking for a commercial unit to accommodate a 200 square meter place for retail opportunities. So Taylor needs to find a suitable location for his retail business. So where does it belong? So there's options to consider. You can go to the realtor.ca website to look for potential opportunities. There's the Bruce County maps, which I'll show you how to get to those maps later in the presentation. But it may also involve a call to the local municipality and specifically asking questions about zoning and where specific retail opportunities would exist and where he should be looking for a potential retail site. So the questions that could be asked of the zoning administrator or the chief building official is this location appropriate for the use that I'm looking for? What are the zoning requirements? If there needs to be any changes to the structure on the site, if there is one, or if a new one's to be built, what would be the requirements for that? So if it is a vacant parcel, and once all the zoning requirements are confirmed, if there's no need to seek a planning approval, for example, you don't need a variance to a setback on the property, then Taylor can apply for a building permit and build his new structure, or if it's interior renovations, it may also require some type of approval from the municipality. The municipality handles that process. The county doesn't get involved at all, and work gets started. In scenario two, Taylor wants to construct a 2,000 square meter industrial warehouse. So Taylor needs to find a vacant site that is zoned to permit that use. So again, Taylor's looking for a suitable location. He calls the municipality to confirm the zoning. There may be a requirement to prepare various studies or plans for this new building. So that may involve preparation of a grading plan. You may require a stormwater management report or plans. If there's a potential that this will generate a lot of traffic, there may be a traffic study requirement. If there's environmental features on the property, there may be a requirement to prepare an environmental impact study. And then, of course, there's the building plans as well, both the floor plans and elevation plans and other requirements that the municipality may have. Oops, sorry. So in this case, Taylor isn't needing any planning approvals that would be processed by the county. It was a potential that he would need site plan control, and that site plan application typically looks at the specifics of the site. So again, you would need the elevation drawings showing what your building is going to look like, the floor plan, and some of the other potential studies that are noted on this slide. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to need to provide these studies or drawings for each and every application for site plan purposes, but these are just some of the potential requirements depending on the site and the land itself. So again, there's no county involvement in this scenario. The site plan application process is controlled by the local municipality, and they would review it to make sure that you've hit all their requirements under their applicable bylaw and that you have the servicing in place. Ultimately, the building permit is issued and you can move forward with, or Taylor can move forward with the development. So in this final scenario, Taylor wants to construct, again, a new manufacturing plant. He needs to find a vacant lot, but manufacturing is not a permitted use. in the zoning bylaw. So in this scenario, Taylor may reach out to the local municipality and they may flag to Taylor that they need planning approval, in which case you'd be directed to one of the county offices, depending on which municipality you're in. So we review it based on the requirements for a complete application. So to start the planning process, often a pre-consultation meeting is arranged. And we do that and we coordinate with the local municipality. So if you need a pre-consultation meeting, often we'll coordinate. Right now, because of COVID, we're doing that virtually, but we often do that in person as well. And we are open to the public as well right now, so we can make appointments for meetings. But we would coordinate this pre-consultation meeting with the local municipality, ensuring that their staff, including their building official, potentially their engineer, the clerk, and others that they may require for review are available to provide input to you, or to Taylor in this case, to ensure that you're making all the right drawings and plan submissions when it comes time to submit your application. Sometimes the local conservation authority will be included, and there may be others that we bring into the meeting as well, depending on the site itself, what some of the characteristics are on the property, and what you're looking to do, or what Taylor in this instance is looking to do on the site. So once the pre-consultation meeting happens, Taylor is advised of all the information that he needs to submit for the application. He hires whatever consultants, if he needs to prepare the materials in support of his application, submits to the county. And so the county will receive that. If everything looks okay, we deem the application complete, and it starts the application process. So in that process, we circulate not only to the local municipality, but there are various agencies that are circulated depending on the type of application. We also circulate to the public, and public notice is given to certain residents within a specified distance of the property, so that they can make their comments on the application as well, if they have any. And ultimately, once all of that is received, county staff will provide a recommendation for council's consideration, and that will occur at a public meeting. This may potentially result in revisions to the plan or concept, or it may be something that is looked on favorably at the time and it moves forward through the process. So the decision ultimately, while planning staff make a recommendation either in favor or not of the application, it's ultimately county or local council who make the final decision on all planning applications. So in this case, if there's no issues, it passes through the appeal period, no concerns, potentially site plan control through the municipality again, as highlighted in our last slide. Building permits issued and work begins. There may be certain steps in the process where the design of Taylor's project needs to be reevaluated. That may occur at the pre-consultation stage, where Taylor's come in perhaps with an original concept, but based on, for example, if there's a floodplain associated with the Saugeen River on the property, perhaps Taylor needs to reorient his building a little bit to ensure that his future building isn't in the floodplain, and therefore it's safe when a flood event, or should a flood event happen. There may be other pieces or parts in the process in which there may be revisions, or maybe that further consultation with the local municipality is required, either to reorientate the development on the site, or perhaps there's a servicing connection issue of some sort, and so that may require some revisions to the plan. As I noted earlier, the decision is made by local council or county council on planning applications. Once a decision is made, it is in most instances subject to appeal. And if there is a potential appeal, that may, depending on the results of that process, have Taylor restart the process or potentially revise his application as well. The current body for appeals is the Ontario Land Tribunal. It's changed its name many times over the years. It was originally, when I first started in land use planning, the Ontario Municipal Board. It was later changed to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, and most recently to the Ontario Land Tribunal. My understanding in my time at the county is there's not a lot of appeals at the county, but in my prior life, it was quite a common thing in the Toronto area. So as I noted, when you go through the planning process, there may be other agencies who are either involved in the pre-consultation discussions if we feel that there are things that anyone in the process needs to talk to or speak to these particular agencies. So we, as best possible, try to get these agencies involved as early in the process as possible to make sure that you're aware of any potential constraints or issues that you need to address if you need to go through this process. So the Conservation Authority is quite often involved in pre-consultation. We do have a relationship at the county with our local conservation authorities. They are and provide technical expertise on behalf of the county for issues relating to natural hazards and natural heritage. So natural heritage features include natural features like woodlands, wetlands, and natural hazards would include things like slopes, floodplains, things like that. So they do provide advice to the county on those through the planning process. Sometimes you'll have to deal with the Ministry of Transportation, particularly if your project is near a provincial highway and there's generally a setback distance in which the ministry will comment on an application if circulated within that boundary. You may need to reach out to the Ministry of the Environment if there's any industrial development certificates of approval needed, depending on your proposal. You may need to reach out to the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission for some Bruce Power related industrial development applications. And then there's often other agencies circulated as well, telecommunication providers, propane distributors, other agencies or organizations that deal with energy, water, sewer, stormwater services. And that's to ensure that your development has all it needs to be successful in terms of servicing. So some of the key points that I just wanted to highlight was, again, it's best to reach out and ask as many questions as possible. Start with the local municipality for any questions you might have in terms of either finding a site that's appropriate for your business, or you have an existing site and you want to know what you can do on the property. First contact is the local municipality, but the county staff are also available to answer any questions that you might have. And at the end of this presentation, I have the county contact information, which will be circulated to you by email. So as I noted, consultation early avoids any surprises down the line if you do need to go through the planning approvals process. And planning approvals, there are legislated timelines, but it does take time. So right now, we typically advise anyone who needs to go through the process. It could be a 3 to 4 month process depending on the type of application you have. Obviously, less complex things like variance applications for setback reductions or height increases, they typically are processed faster. But if you need to go through an official plan amendment or a zoning bylaw amendment, it might take a little bit longer. Severances, there may be multiple steps in the process as well. So ask all the questions that you want, and we can let you know what applications you need and how much time you need to potentially set aside to get those approvals in place so you can get moving with your business going forward. So I'll maybe pause there to see if there's any other questions about that. I know it's a lot of information. I tried not to get too deep into it because um, there's a lot of different steps depending on the type of application that you need to go through, if you need to go through any. So happy to take any questions at this point. All right, I'm just checking the chat. There was one question, and my apologies, I did miss it from earlier. There was a question on environmental impact studies. So environmental impact studies typically required if you're within a certain distance of an environmental feature like a woodland. And again, early pre-consultation with the conservation authority is often best to determine whether or not an environmental impact study may be needed. The county does have environmental impact study guidelines. And what this study is essentially doing is it will identify what the natural features on or adjacent to your property might be. It will identify their significance, and depending on how significant they are, it will determine how they should be treated. So should they be protected? Should there be a buffer provided? If they don't necessarily need to be protected, can they be removed? Is there a compensation or mitigation that may be required for those features? So it will speak to those things and provide recommendations for you that you will incorporate into the design of your project. So environmental impact study isn't needed for all types of planning applications. It will be dependent on what you're looking to do and your site and how close you are to any natural features, or if there's any natural features on your property. Any other questions before I give a bit of a tour of our map so you can find out how to get the information that you need and get your questions in order so that you're prepared when you reach out to either the county or the local municipality? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Before I leave my slide deck, because I fear I might not come back to the very last slide, but at the end of the slide is our contact information. So it does identify the 3 offices, the local municipalities that we serve in each of those offices. It does have the email specific to each of those offices, as well as the overall county line for planning and development. You can call that number and you'll be directed to the appropriate office depending on which municipality you're in. And it also provides the link to our website, which is the general Bruce County Land Use Planning site. So I'll actually take you there first. So let me just close that out for a second. So you can use the website link on our slide presentation, or you can also just search land use planning Bruce County, and it should take you to this website. We do have a couple of linked sites, so feel free to search around in here. There's lots of useful information that you can use for your planning purposes. So this page here identifies and provides links to various resources for your use. So this first link is for official plans and zoning bylaws. So if you click on this particular link, it will take you into our official plan and zoning bylaw site. It will provide a list of all of our local municipalities. And if you click on those, it will take you to the municipal website. The other thing that you can use is our planning and inquiries consultation page. It provides an outline of how and what you need in order to submit an inquiry to the county, and we can respond to any questions that you might have on a proposal on your property. There's also a link on how to make an application, gives you a bit of information on what is planning and why is it important. This link here is to the county official plan. We're currently reviewing our policies under the county official plan. So this is the link to the Plan the Bruce website. That kind of tells you what changes and what things are being considered as we review our policies that we currently use. And then it also provides the link to our mapping, which I'll go to in just a second. Our other land use planning page also provides some links to our current fees, the inquiry form, and also to our application. And then if you see on the side here, we have our local municipalities highlighted. If you click on those names, it will give you information. So in this case, I'm in Kincardin's site on the county webpage. It gives you a link to the Kincardin zoning bylaw and also to the Kincardin official plan. So you can click on those once you've looked at the mapping, which I'll go to in a second. If you find out perhaps what designation you're in and what zone you're in, then you can cross-reference that against these documents here. And it'll tell you what is permitted in those particular locations, what the policies may be in those locations as well. So it's a good resource for that information. So if you click on the interactive mapping, it will take you to this page and ask you to launch the program. So this takes you to the Bruce County launch page for our mapping. So if you click on public maps, it's going to launch our website, and hopefully it's working this evening. Otherwise, you'll have to take my word for it. So this will take you to the county's mapping site. And what you'll do is you'll click here. And the most easy tool to use is to find a property parcel by. And in this case, you can search by civic address, by roll number, lot concession, and by legal text. So I will use the county address in the Walkerton office as an example. So you can start entering the legal address and it will start generating potential options. So I click on 30 Park Street and search. And it's actually giving me two addresses, which are 30 Park Street. One is in Huron Kinloss and the other's in Brockton. So I'm interested in the site in Brockton. And it takes me right to the property that I'm interested in. So 30 Park Street in Walkerton. At the bottom, you can click on these air photos to get information for various points in time. We most recently added the 2020 air photos. So this is the county office in Walkerton, and you can circulate through that. I'm just going to shift my computer a little bit. So if you click on the bottom here to the layers tab, there are various layers and pieces of information that you can click on. So some things that would be of interest for anyone who has a business or is looking for a site to locate a business, you can click on the county official plan so that you can see that this turned pink. If you click on the property, it's going to give you some choices to scroll through. So this first page most often shows up with the property details. At any point, if you see view additional details at the bottom, you can click on that. And at the side, it will give you a breakdown of this is the address in this particular case, the roll number. It will give you frontage and area, and it'll tell you how up to date this information is. You click on the property again, scrolling through these tabs. You can see that this is in a primary urban community. And here, the acronym here, BCOP, that's the Bruce County Official Plan. It's designated primary urban communities. So with that information, you could go back to the county official plan document and look up policies that are related to primary urban communities. Similarly, in this location, because it is an urban area, there is a local official plan as well. And that, in this case, is the Brockton official plan specific to Walkerton. So again, you can click on this tab. A lot of the same information will show up. It'll tell you information about the property. And in this case, you can see the local official plan designation is institutional. If I were to scroll out and look for other areas that may be for business purposes of interest, you can go to the Walkerton downtown location, and you can see different designations for sites in the downtown area. So in this case, the local official plan designation is historic Walkerton. So you can look at the official plan policies and see what's permitted in that particular location, what's the overall vision for that location, and things along that line. We look at another layer, you can see the zoning specific for these locations as well. So again, clicking on it, you can see that it's zoned C1-1 Central Business District. If we look at other areas in Walkerton, and as an example, for business purposes, this is the East Ridge Business Park. You can see that the zoning here is different compared to the downtown. It's Business Park 1. And again, you can take and look at the local bylaw for this area to see what's permitted in this location, what the setback requirements, height, and things like that for these particular areas are. Another important layer that often comes up is the Conservation Authority area of interest or potential areas that the Conservation Authority may regulate. So in here, you can see the yellow showed up when I clicked on that layer. And if your property happens to fall in or close to that, it may mean that you need to reach out to the Conservation Authority. They may have an interest in what you're looking to do on your property. The community improvement plan area shows up in many of the urban areas in Bruce County. And this is area where there's a focus on community improvement. There may be certain benefits to locating in this area. And I'm sure Paul and some of our economic development colleagues can kind of speak to some of that more. But it's kind of a focused interest in that particular area for business and commercial ideally. There's lots of other layers in here, and I encourage you to go in and play around with it. In terms of, I previously worked in the Greater Toronto area, and I have to say Bruce County mapping far exceeds a lot of the mapping in some of our other municipalities across the province. So it's always been an impressive tool for not only internal use, but for anyone in the public to use as well. So, and I'm a bit of a mapping geek, so this was a huge improvement from what I was used to working with before. So there's information, you can get elevation data to a certain elevation. There's information about hydrology, which is identifying, the Saugeen River, and for this municipality runs through the middle of town. Another cool tool is the real estate listings tool. So you can click on this, and what it will do is bring up dots on a plan. And this, if you click on one, for example, will link you directly to the realtor.ca site, but it will give you a bit of information about, what this property is. It's a commercial sale listing. It will identify what the price is. And if you click on view additional details, it'll give a bit of an overview on that, but also provides a link to the realtor site as well, which provides more details about that particular listing. If we use this one as another example, this is a land listing, so identify a potential parcel that's for sale. That could be of interest for what you're looking to do. But again, then you can just click on the other layers and see if it's an appropriate site for your business, or if perhaps there's another location elsewhere that would be better suited for what you're looking to do. So that's a general overview of the mapping. Is there any questions on the mapping tool at all, or any of the layers that I've gone through? All right, just checking the chat. Okay, I'm not seeing any. So I'm happy to take any other questions at this point in time. That was generally the run through that I was going to provide. Again, if there's any questions that come up after the presentation, certainly reach out to the county office. My link isn't specifically, or sorry, my contact information is not specifically provided as a link in the presentation, but I'm happy to send that along as well for you to reach out if you have any general questions. If you have any specific questions, again, you can reach out to any of our offices and we can get you some more detailed information. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions, so I wanted to thank you all for joining this evening. This was my first time presenting, so happy to take any feedback as well. If you want to forward that on either to Paul or to myself, we'll see what we can do to improve this presentation for the next group that's going through the process and wants a bit more information about land use planning, specifically in Bruce County. So thanks everyone for joining.
Yep. Thanks, everyone. We'll send you a copy of the recording. And like I say, if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out.
Thanks everyone. Have a good evening.